Welcome to the Parenting Lab podcast. I'm your parent coach, Brittney, and I am here to guide you into the calm, clarity, and connection you're looking for as you transform your parenting from the inside out. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome back to the Parenting Lab. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. This is one of those episodes I think a lot of parents need to hear. So if you have ever ended the day lying in bed, going over every moment and wondering, did I do damage today? Did I mess them up? Did I just cause trauma? This episode is for you because today we're going to talk about something I think gets really blurry for a lot of us. How do you know if something was traumatic or if it was just a really hard parenting moment? The more trauma-informed we become, the more aware we get, and that is beautiful. That's progress. But sometimes that awareness turns into hypervigilance, and we start to fear that every mistake, every emotional moment, every rupture is something we can't recover from. So let's slow down together today, okay? Let's pull this apart gently. Let's talk about what trauma really is and what it isn't, and how we can show up for our kids without constantly walking on eggshells, okay? Let's start with this. Raising kids while healing your own stuff is a brave and beautiful thing, but it is also exhausting because you're trying to show up differently. You're trying to be aware of your tone, your nervous system, their triggers, your triggers, the family patterns, the past, and it can feel like one wrong move will ruin everything. And then, after a hard moment, you yell or you shut down or you can't be as patient as you wanted. You ask yourself, was that trauma? I want to pause right here and say right off the bat, if you're even asking that question, it means something important. It means that you care. You're thinking about your child's experience. You want to break cycles and create new ones. You are doing the work, okay? But here's where things get tricky. Not every difficult parenting moment is trauma. We live in a world where trauma is now part of our everyday vocabulary, and that is not a bad thing. It means we're more emotionally literate. But when everything gets labeled as trauma, we stop trusting ourselves. We start parenting from fear instead of presence. So today, we are going to explore how to tell the difference and why that distinction matters. So let's start by talking about what trauma really is. Trauma is not defined by the event, okay? It's defined by the nervous system's response to the event, especially when that response doesn't get resolved. It's what happens when our bodies go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You've heard those terms before, I'm sure. And we don't have the support and the safety and the tools to come back to a regulated state. So here's the definition that I often use with my clients. Trauma is anything that overwhelms your system and leaves you feeling unsafe, unseen, or powerless, and there's no one there to help you feel safe again. So yes, trauma can come from those big T moments like abuse or neglect, but it can also come from what we call little T moments, ongoing dynamics, like constantly feeling shamed or ignored or invalidated. So here's what trauma often looks like in parenting, okay? Your child learns to suppress their feelings to keep the peace. They become hypervigilant around your moods. They don't come to you when they're scared or when they're hurt. They feel like they can't be their full selves in your presence. But here's what isn't trauma. A parent who loses their cool and comes back to repair. A child who's upset about a boundary, but still feels safe. A difficult day where things get messy, but you stay connected. The difference isn't just what happened, it's what happens next. So let's get practical now. I'm going to give you 3 questions you can ask to discern whether something might be traumatic or whether it was simply a hard but recoverable moment. Question number 1. Is it a pattern or a moment? We all have off days. That is human. That's just parenting. What we're looking for here are chronic patterns, recurring dynamics that make your child feel consistently unsafe, unseen, or powerless. Okay. A single moment of frustration, especially when it's followed by repair, is not likely to create trauma, but a pattern of frequent outbursts, emotional withdrawal, or criticism, especially without that repair or acknowledgement, now that is when it might have some lasting impact. So ask yourself, was this a one-time rupture, or is it part of a repeating cycle? Do I often respond to my child in this way? All right. Question number 2. Is there repair or is there silence? One of the most powerful things you can offer your child is repair. It's not about always getting it right. It's about coming back. All right. Repair sounds like, hey, I'm sorry that I yelled. That was not okay. Or, you did not deserve that tone. Can we talk about what happened? Or, whew, that moment felt hard for both of us. Are you okay? Repair shows your child that they matter, that their feelings are real, that you see them, and that you are willing to own your part in what happened. If there's no repair, if we ignore it or dismiss it or pretend it didn't happen, that is when the shame settles in. Kids internalize that their experience doesn't matter. And over time, that silence can shape how they view relationships. That love means walking on eggshells or editing their true feelings, or that conflict is the same as abandonment. But when we model healthy repair, we give them a roadmap for connecting, even after a rupture. We show them that it's safe to be human with others, and especially with themselves, which leads into our next question, number 3, which is, does my child feel safe or ashamed? Ask yourself, does my child feel safe to bring me their hard stuff? Do they come to me when they've made a mistake? Do they still seek connection even after conflict? If your child still wants to be near you, still wants to play, snuggle, or talk, those are signs that their nervous system still feels safe with you, even after big emotions. But if you're noticing signs of fear, chronic shutdown, or withdrawal, it may be worth gently exploring what's going on underneath the surface here. And remember, safety doesn't mean that your child is always happy. It means they feel secure in the relationship, even when you're not at your best. Okay, so what if you just don't know? What if you're sitting with a moment that feels heavy and you can't tell whether or not it was harmful? Here's what I want you to hear. You can always go back. There is always an opening for repair. You can say, hey, I've been thinking about how I responded to you earlier. I just want to check in with you. I wonder how that moment felt for you. Or I wish I had handled that differently. You don't need a clinical answer to begin a healing conversation. You just need presence. You just need to be the one who's willing to come back and hold space for their experience. If your child is young and can't express it in words, their behavior and body language will tell you. So just stay curious, stay available. Let's end with this. If you've been worried about traumatizing your kids, or if you've been carrying guilt through every rough day or raised voice or moment that you didn't handle well, I just want to remind you, trauma doesn't come from imperfection. It comes from disconnection. Okay? You are going to have hard days. You are going to lose your cool. But if you keep coming back, if you're willing to repair, willing to grow, willing to stay connected, that is the healing work. So I want to end by posing a question that you can think about over this next week, okay? What is one moment that you have been carrying guilt about that was maybe just a hard day for you or your kids? Once you think of that situation that you're feeling bad about, I want you to think about what it would look like to revisit that moment with compassion and what a repair would sound like, even if it's delayed, okay? So even if it was a long time ago, even if it's something that happened when your kids were little, or something that happened even a few weeks ago or this morning, think about what a repair would sound like, because that connection, that return to the situation where you can talk about what went wrong and on how you want to fix it, that is what regulates a nervous system. That is what keeps these events from becoming things that your kids will look back on as trauma. One more thing. You are not supposed to be a perfect parent. You've heard me say it before, and I will keep on saying it. That is not what your kids need. They need a real parent, a growing, attuned, and self-reflective one, just like you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing this deep work, not just for your kids, but for yourself. You are changing patterns. I hope you'll join me next week, where we will continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Parenting Lab podcast. For our complete catalog of online courses, free resources, or to join our mailing list, please visit theparentinglab.org. See you next time.